Hello bakers! Today I'm going to show you how easy it is to make homemade Hollandaise sauce. Hollandaise is perfect on asparagus, eggs Benedict. Actually, Hollandaise is just about perfect on anything. So let's go over our ingredients. I'm going to use a half cup of butter, and you want to cut your butter up into small pieces. 2 egg yolks, which I've got left over from some earlier bacon. 2 tablespoons of hot water. Now there's a little more water there, but it's easier to get the tablespoons out if I've got the little extra. A tablespoon of lemon juice. And then I'll be using a little bit of salt and white pepper to season it with. Now, you could use black pepper. You don't really have to use the white pepper, but if you use black pepper, then you're going to see all the little black specks from the pepper. The white pepper looks a little nicer in a light sauce. So we're going to start by, you also need to make sure you have a really heavy, this saucepan has a heavy thick gauge bottom so that it does not get too hot too quickly, and I'm going to be using my little baby burner here, which gives me a nice low heat. If you do not have a low enough heat or a heavy gauge saucepan, then what you need to do is make a double boiler. Have a pan with some water in it, then another pan on top of that pan with the water to keep it from getting too hot. You need a low heat to start out here. So I'm going to put half of my butter into my pan along with the 2 egg yolks and the lemon juice. And we're going to put that on a low heat, and I'm just going to stir this. Now the butter is going to slowly soften. You don't really want the butter to get to be a true liquid, just to soften a little bit. And as the butter melts, I'm going to be adding in the rest of this butter slowly. And what that does is it helps to keep it cool and keep it from getting too hot too quickly. So we'll just stir over a low heat here. And as these pieces start to disintegrate and get a little smaller, like I said, we'll add the rest of our butter slowly. You should be able to put your hand or your thumb on the side of the pan. If it's too hot for you to put your hand there, then the pan itself is too hot. I do also recommend that you use a whisk to make this. So we're just stirring in our, like I said, our butter, and as you can see, the butter is getting liquid, turning into a liquid, but it's not fully melted. It's still kind of a little bit of a sludge. And I'm going to go ahead and start adding a couple pieces of the rest of that butter. And that will help keep the temperature down so that it does not melt too quickly. And that's really all there is to it, is just stirring. It takes a couple of minutes, but not that many. And as the butter is starting to melt, I'm going to add a couple more pieces here. If you start to see the mixture turning into a liquid, you see like the oil on the side from the butter, take it off the heat and just continue stirring it for a minute until it cools down a little bit. And again, like I said, I often like to just keep my thumb on the side of the pan. That way I know it's not too hot. Because like I said, if I can keep my thumb there, the pan's at a reasonable temperature. And we'll add a couple more pieces of the butter. And just keep stirring. And they'll melt a little more. And we can add our couple more pieces. And we'll add the last little bit of butter there. So again, you want the butter to liquefy, but not to be completely melted, and where the oil is coming out of it. And we're just going to stir that one more minute here until those last little pieces get pretty much melted away or dissolved away, liquefied. So the butter has just about all, yes, the butter is pretty much all liquefied there. So I'm going to take it off the heat for one moment, and I'm going to get my 2 tablespoons of hot water here. So 1, 2, and I'm just going to stir those in real quick. And I'm going to put it back on the heat. Now I'm actually going to turn the heat up a little bit at this point. So if you're using a double boiler, you can take it off the double boiler and put it straight on the burner. And we're going to whisk this for another 1 to 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, until it thickens. It's important to whisk continually, otherwise you'll get clumps and melted butter, and it won't be a pretty sauce. But if you just take, like I said, a couple minutes to just stand there and whisk, or get a friend to stand there and whisk for you, you'll have a beautiful Hollandaise sauce. That'll be perfect on, like I said, asparagus, eggs Benedict, whatever you want it on, because Hollandaise is delicious on everything. So make sure that you get in the corners while you're whisking it, because it's going to start to cook and thicken, and you can see it's actually getting a little bit thicker here already. As the egg cooks, it will thicken. Again, if you start to see any oil leaking out on the sides, take it off the heat immediately and just continue to stir or whisk. And it's almost there. You can see it's starting to thicken up. You see how my spoon is leaving marks in it when I stir? You can see it like on the sides there, how it's getting thicker. So we're just going to stir 1 more minute here. Now this is a sauce, not a pudding, so we don't want it too thick. And I think we're just about there. We've got a nice sauce. So I'm going to take it off of the heat. And I'm going to add just a pinch of salt, not very much, and a dash of white pepper. And I will whisk those in. And again, you could use black pepper, but if you use black pepper, then you're going to see all the little spots from the pepper. And just stir this for another minute here. We're off the heat. If it gets too hot, the butter actually starts to melt and it'll make it more liquidy. So you do have to be careful while you're cooking it. All right, I think we have achieved Hollandaise. You got a nice sauce there that you can pour over your asparagus or your eggs Benedict. Hollandaise, quick and easy. I hope you've enjoyed today's Baking with the Iron Maiden. If so, please like and subscribe to this channel for more good cooking. Happy baking.